I'm Darla Ogle, and I am an agent in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. And I started my career in actually working internet leads. So my career started 6 years ago, and I came on as a team member, and my job was converting internet leads. So I had no other point of reference for real estate, and that's where I started. So I didn't know that anything about it except for I needed to dive in and be successful because that was a key to my being able to get started. So what I'm here to share with you today is some of the things. Well, obviously I've learned a lot in the process, and my market's a little bit different. Where I am in a luxury second home market. But I feel like a lot of what we've done to learn to convert leads in our market, you can absolutely benefit from. So no matter what your market is. So some of these things you may have to tweak a little bit based on where your market is. But I just wanted you to have some knowledge about what I do or what my team does to convert internet leads. So let's start at the beginning. When when you've got someone that is coming in off an internet lead, first of all, browsers are buyers. So when they people are on their computer actively searching for properties in an area where you are an agent, that is technically a warm lead, right? The quality of the leads matter. So we always get an email and a phone number. Now we know that there's going to be some Mickey Mouse and 1-800-555-555 numbers that come in. But, getting a good internet lead, somebody that does these leads, is very key. Now, if you need that, you've got to kind of vet and look around. Obviously, I've done some digging, and I have a good ad gen person, lead gen person that does the ads. So that's something if you're interested in. I know you can, through the collective, someone can find me and I can tell you kind of what's worked in my market. But so the quality of the lead matters, right? So once we get a lead in and we know that they're in, we've got them in our database, so to speak, they get to an agent. At that point in time, a lot of people talk about speed to lead. Well, in our market, we kind of like to let them look a little bit. So our first call is the next day. They get an immediate email, getting them on the website, and then a quick contact from the agent. Now, it's a personal message. It's one that we've, have as our first point of contact. And it always ends with an open-ended question. So that's, again, you're trying to get this person to engage. However, we do know that everybody that signs up on a site to view leads, that they actually probably have signed up on multiple sites. Some say as many as 6. Now, we actually know this to be true as well, because a lot of times we'll realize they signed up one day on our site and another day on another agent's site, even on our team. So what we're looking at always is how to stand out and how to get that lead to interact. So a drip email, which, like I said, when a lead comes in, they do get put on a smart campaign that's very specific to our market. So right now, our market is a buyer's market, so we're really clear in our interactions with them in the email specifically, is that they actually, I think I'm supposed to let you guys in. Anyway, there you are. Welcome. And if anybody has any questions, we're talking about internet leads, so please feel free to ask questions. We'll save that at the end. But as these people come in, we're looking at ways to really connect with them. So I encourage my agents to send a video. Obviously, the goal is to get them on the phone. Once you've gotten a lead, and you've done some interaction via text or email, the goal is to set up a conversation to really talk about their needs as a buyer. So we're always trying to get them on the phone. And when we're texting, we're always using open-ended questions to get them to respond. The other thing we've got is when they come in off the internet and we have them as their email, they're in, we've confirmed that they have a phone number that is actually good. Now, there's some great things that have happened in recent years with technology where we can really find somebody's phone number. It's pretty easy, either through Forewarn or we use Spokio. When we've got a good email, we can get a phone number that we can get them, to text and email. I mean, text and get a phone conversation started. So we try to get that if it looks like it's a quality lead, they've looked at several properties, we've qualified them from their initial sign on, then we actively have a plan for getting in touch with them: phone, text, and email. The critical time for that lead when they come on your site is the first 14 days. After that, we will actually send them to a drip campaign. But we do not, that drip campaign is it's really useless, unless I mean, you really are trying to get them on the phone or get them to interact with you in text. So that's your goal. So being an expert, telling them something that they don't know, especially since based on their search, what they're looking at. So for example, in our market, let's say they're looking in a specific community, we will provide some up-to-date information about that community that they can't find anywhere else. So if they're looking in a neighborhood that maybe has a new policy that you're aware of or something that's happened in the HOA, that's a great opportunity for you to be an expert, stand out from other people that they may be also on their site to say, hey, just last week in that community, XYZ just passed, and they have a new policy about that. So we look at providing timely information, and then that they're knowing that you're not AI, or that you're not just putting them on a drip and forgetting about them. So when there's in that first 14-day window, our attempts to contact them are pretty aggressive. And our agents, I've got 3 agents that work internet leads for me. And again, I spent 3 years really working internet leads myself before I, now have a team of agents that I help work leads. And our goal is we have, like I said, these people that come in that first 14 days, those people are contacted at least 6 times we've got phone calls that happen starting the 2nd day, 4th day, 6th day, 8th day, on to the 14. And then we also have emails and texts going at the same time. So those first 14 days, we are very intentional about trying to make contact with them so that, we're there. They also know we're people. They do have an opportunity to unsubscribe. We are trying to get to, I'm not a buyer as well. If they're not a buyer, wow, that's great. Let's get them off the list as quickly as possible so we're not spending time and energy on them. After the 14 days, we will send them to a drip campaign that has something scheduled all the way for probably 100 days even, where they're getting something. Now, keep in mind, the very first time that they log in and we've qualified that they're a real person and they are potentially able to purchase, we will set them up on a home search so that they're getting at least weekly, most of the time bi-weekly listings. So again, we've got these contacts happening by phone, by text, and by email, but they also are getting properties. These properties are coming, so they start getting these listings, right, that are really specific to what they are looking for when they came on the internet looking. So that's another step. So those are all ways we're touching them. Plus, they end up in our database where we get a monthly newsletter so that they see all that we're doing in the community. and also the listings that we're selling, other buyers we're bringing, what we're pending, what's closed, so that we want them to see that we are experts in the area, that they are actually searching. So we're trying to stand out, stay top of mind. And again, just like everything else in life, it's about timing. It's about getting that person when they are most likely to respond to you. So you kind of do have to hit them from a lot of angles. We aren't trying to be annoying. We definitely have the fine line of not being annoying by trying to contact them, but we are contacting them in intentional ways. So for all of our agents that are working internet leads, um, we want them to know that this is just part of what they need to be doing as an agent, right? We definitely provide enough leads. When we talked about quality of lead, quantity of lead is super important if you're doing internet leads. So for our market, for every 100 people that sign up on our site, we have at least one buyer. Now, that may sound very daunting, that wow, you have to have that many leads, but that is our market. I'm sure that there are more than just one buyer and 100, but we also know that we don't convert everyone. So out of 100 leads, we usually have at least one buyer, maybe more like 1.5. And in our market, it's about a 9-month window, because again, we are a second home market. But if you're in more of a primary market, I would think some of those buyers would be right now buyers. In our market, because we are a second home market, it's usually they're looking to the future. Um, looking at how it's going to fit with their schedule. But I would think in a primary market, some of those may be right now buyers. So again, you definitely want to be pretty prompt. And I think maybe that's why we wait 24 hours to call in our market. But in a primary market, one thing you might want to do is call right away and hope to get them on the phone while they're looking. In our market, we've found that's not as effective. We like to let them look a little bit and then have a little more information about what they're looking for. But these are some things to try. And like I said, when I say quantity of leads, my agents that are doing internet leads, they're working internet leads, they are getting in a 30-day time period, probably 60 leads. That's what I feel like is enough for them to work. It's not too many that they just feel like they're drinking, from a fire hose, but it gives them something to do every day. They've got tasks related to those internet leads, and they are getting some interaction. So while like I said, we have about 1.5 buyers for every 100 leads we get, we are doing showings on these with these people, because not everybody buys, but we are getting enough feedback and activity from these leads to know that they are quality leads, they are people that can buy. We do always qualify that. One question we like to ask early on, when we're interacting with people we don't know, because that's what we are, right? We kind of call it chasing ghosts. But as we are interacting with these people pretty early on, if we've established any rapport at all, we always ask them, are you in need of a lender? And that sometimes, if someone's not serious at that point in time, they'll back off. They'll say, oh, I'm not ready or whatever. So we try to get them qualified pretty quickly, and we try to vet them, well before they come into town and we're actually working with them. We try to do enough homework that we don't end up on a lot of, wild goose chases with people. Now I think I know at this point I want to stop, because I've been talking pretty nonstop and I have some people live here. Are there any questions anyone here would like to ask about converting internet leads at this point from anything I've said?
Yeah, actually, I had a question. What sources? I know I joined a couple of minutes late, but what sources are your internet leads from? And what's like the normal like protocol? So the lead comes in, they call right away, or like what CRM do you guys also use?
Um, okay, so when I was looking at CRMs, I was interviewing lead gen people at the same time, and I don't want to give my lead gen guy online, but I'd be happy if you'd like to put your email in a chat. I will send you my lead gen person. I've been working with him for 2 years now. And like I said, I wouldn't say it out loud because in my market, I don't want other people using him. But if you're not in my market, I'm like, great, you need to use him. He's great. But again, I would challenge you to interview them. But he told us to use Sierra, but I use Sierra CRM, but my agents also use Follow Up Boss. So I actually have both. Um, However, I know there's other, you can use different platforms. I don't think since I was looking at the same time, he just said, I prefer using Sierra. It's easy for me to set up. So that's what I went with. And then we don't do, again, we're in a second home market. I would think in a primary market, maybe you do get them right on the phone the second they sign up. But in our market, we give them 24 hours. So we don't contact them until the next day. We let them get on, start looking at properties, get comfortable. They do have to put their phone number in um, and their emails. So we get both. And we know pretty quickly if their phone number is real or not because it bounces right from a text. But they get two contacts initially when they come on. They get an email right then that says, hey, you're registered, here's how you get back on. And then they get a personal message from the agent. And they do start on an email drip campaign. It's not that they don't, it's just it's useless without it being personalized. That people, we all know, right? We all know when we're just getting a drip campaign. It's super annoying. Keep your messages short. You want an open-ended question to try to engage them to interact with you. So, like, and a number one thing, we actually used a ChatGPT to create a buyer messenger bot that all our agents use. They'll put in the specific scenario. We've uploaded like I guess never split the difference and some other, content in there that basically guides our response. And they know the bot also, we uploaded all of our like market information. So when we get stumped with a buyer asking a question or an interaction that we need a text message for, we contact we get the buyer bot up. So like this is an example of using that, but let's say they say, I'm just browsing. Well, you want to ask them, well, what are you browsing for? Right? And you want them to have to answer back to you. You don't want to say, "Oh, great, let me know when you're ready to buy." That's not what you do, right? You try to keep them going back and forth. So, what are you browsing for? I'd like to set up your search more specifically. Is there a certain neighborhood you prefer? Things like that to keep them engaged. Um, any other questions?
Yeah, no, that was great. And how do you hold your, I heard like for my team and I guess the people that I work with, like holding people accountable is like the hardest part, like making sure that they actually call on time, make sure that they do the follow up. What is your system to make sure that your team does that?
Well, again, that's one great thing that the technology is great for, right? Like they've got to log calls. They do make notes, attempts to contact. I also can see all their interactions by text, by email, all of that I can see. And if they get on the phone with them and they log a call, the all of that, and we meet every week, sometimes twice a week, and we go over, I'm accountable to them for the lead quality. They're like, hey, this week, this is what, I stay really in touch with my ad guy to say, hey, the last couple of weeks, the ads that the leads have been not as good, or we want to tweak it a little bit, like maybe exclude one area or include another area. The great thing about working with someone that's into the internet, the Google pay-per-click or whatever the ad system you're using, is that you can really work with them to say, hey, these are the areas we really want to focus on, and getting rid of some of the areas that maybe you're not as an expert in, or whatnot. So keeping them accountable though is very key. Like, if, and the thing is, like, if you've got, how many people are on your team, Joshua?
So technically not a team, but I also generate leads for certain partners that I have. So like I'm holding them accountable to like the ones calling the leads. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, right? These leads, you could buy the best leads in the world, and if you're not converting them, it's just a waste of money.
Yeah.
It really is, and so it's very critical. What's so great is if they can have success, and if any of your team members is having success, that's something that we're really open about when we meet. Like, how many conversations have you had this week? Because all my agents get the exact same leads. It's round robin. I don't cherry pick. It's just the way it is. So I think that that's what's been great, is that we have people having success, so it kind of exposes the people that maybe aren't doing there as much on the follow up. So
Okay. Good advice. Thank you.
yeah. Anybody else have a questions? We have about 9 minutes left. I guess I wanted to recap by saying, um, if you have people working internet leads, my people that work at my internet leads are true agents. They have to be doing other things as well, to besides getting these leads set up, contacted, put on a consistent, that you're touching them on a pretty frequent basis. Um, that they need to be doing other things too, right? They need to be out doing open houses, doing other things. But this is it's just a great way for people to start building a pipeline, um, of people that could potentially buy. Um, Another thing that one of my agents started doing himself, which was really great, he started doing a monthly video, because one thing that is hard when you're trying to connect with somebody, just with a black and white text of email or text, is that they don't see that you're a person. And that is very important, that they really see that you are, a human. So the monthly, um, video that he would do about the market, we had one thing that people do when they are not sure they want to use you, right, is they'll say, "Oh, I have another agent." Now, when someone says that, we respect that, right? We don't, you know, try to convert them over to us, or but if they haven't asked us to not contact them, they'll just stay on the various, things that we have set up. So one of my agents started doing a monthly video, and one of the people that had told him, "Hey, I'm already working with an agent," called him after one of those videos and said, "Well, you got me. I didn't really have an agent, and after seeing your videos and seeing you in person, you are my agent." So it was an example of them seeing that you're a human and that you are an expert. They need to see you as an expert because of the information that you can give them. So standing out any way you can, and making sure that they have a visual of who you are, and maybe how you correspond with people by text and emails one way, but how they can see your personality in a video can really be the difference between them choosing you as an agent or them choosing someone else. So that agent was so encouraged by that video that he's consistently put that video out to his leads every month. And I think it's gotten him more and more traction with the rest of his, interactions. I'll tell you a fun story, just to give you encouragement, because I think lead gen, following up on internet leads, is a very, can be very isolating, can be very discouraging at times. We have to keep each other. I think that's one thing. We have some good camaraderie on our team, and so we'll also send, the funny, not, the funniest sign up names of the week, because sometimes you get those funny, or the craziest exchanges that go on via text. What we had one this week where the agent was going back and forth with someone for probably 3 or 4 texts, and at the last phrase, after my agent had really been very informative, the person said, "One more thing, could you please delete my phone number? Which, sounds terrible, but we just all got to laugh because that's part of it, right? You put yourself out there sometimes and you put all this effort in, and then you find out, oh gosh, that is part of this. So having some camaraderie with each other in this is nice. My agents do have some fun. We have some fun with that. But I wanted to give you kind of an encouraging story because I think when I first started, I was we call them ghosts, right? I had chased some ghosts. I'd had some people come to town and not buy, realized, man, these people aren't buyers, but I was pretty new at it. I didn't know as much how to qualify. But I finally honed that in, and it was probably about 6 months into my internet lead conversion process that I ended up having an email exchange with someone on a Friday night. He said, "I'm coming in on Tuesday." And I was like, "Great." And I qualified him. I knew he was a buyer, could buy. I didn't know he was a buyer, right? I hadn't met him yet, but I knew he was capable of buying. Anyway, so that was my first big kind of hit in the internet conversion world. And this gentleman came to town and ended up buying a really nice property from me. And after that, I was really hooked. I understood that I was going to have to kiss a lot of frogs to find the prince. And that's part of internet lead conversion, right? You're going to have a lot of frustration, but that it really could pay off. And I would say most of my agents in their business, their internet lead conversion gives them a really good income if they do it well. Now, again, I am in a different market. I think that it has to vary by market, but you definitely can't be the only thing you do, but it can be a great source of getting leads and getting some warm leads in as opposed to other forms. Any other questions? We're coming up on the timeline. I so appreciate the opportunity to talk about internet leads. I really feel like there's a place for this part of our business, obviously. And I do think that the conversion process takes, it's a little bit of art, a little bit of science, but it does take some persistence. And so you're going to have to stick with it. It's not going to be overnight. And that I think you've got to get some good people around you. It helps if you have some good systems in place, obviously. But it's really about you coming across and standing out with the way you ask questions, the way that you present yourself as an expert, and the way you try to connect with each individual that you have qualified to be worth your chasing, right? You want to find a way to connect to them and to bring them in and decide that, they're worth your time and working together to find them a property. So anyway, I just thank you so much for your time. And any other questions, feel free to ask or text or I guess send them to the collective.
Thank you for teaching.
Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.